I am 105 years old, and I'm going to tell you something that might make you uncomfortable. I'm still here, but my heart stayed in 1965, not because that year was special, but because that's when I started postponing my own life. Everything you think you know about time, choices, and regrets is wrong. And the worst part? No one warns you. Your parents, your teachers, society itself, they all repeat the same lie, that there will always be later. I believed it too. I spent decades saying later, when I can, when I'm better. I built a respectable life, did what was expected of me, and only realized too late the price of those choices. Before I tell you what happened in 1965, you need to understand one thing. I'm not saying this to sound wise. I'm saying it because I don't have much time left, and maybe you still do. I had a family, I had work, I had responsibilities. I spent years believing I was doing everything right, paying the bills, fulfilling my duties, being strong. From the outside, it looked like a stable life. On the inside, I was just moving through the days. What I've learned since then completely changed the way I see love, time, and presence. It changed how I look at old photographs. It changed the weight of memories. And if you listen carefully, it might save you decades of silence and regret. But before I get into that, I need to be honest with you. I'm not here to lecture you. I'm not trying to impress anyone. I'm speaking because at 105 years old, you start to understand that every morning is alone. And because there are things that need to be said while there's still someone listening. What I'm about to tell you isn't about getting old. It's about realizing too late what truly mattered and hoping you don't make the same mistake. In 1965, I was 39 years old. I remember exactly where I was. It was late afternoon. The sky had that pale color that comes just before nightfall, and I was holding an envelope in my hands while waiting for a bus that seemed like it would never arrive. Inside that envelope was a decision, an invitation to start over in another city, a better job, more money, more security, and at home, someone waiting for me, believing we would still have time. I chose the path that seemed more responsible. I told myself it was only for a few years, that I would come back later, that love understands, that dreams can wait. They don't. It was there, at that bus stop, that my life began to follow a quiet track. I didn't realize it at the time. No one ever does. You simply make the choice and move forward. But some decisions don't just close doors. They close entire versions of who you could have been. And that day, without knowing it, I began to live on autopilot. There is a lie we learn far too early and carry for far too long. The lie that you can always go back, that you'll deal with it later, that now is not the right time. I used to say that all the time. When things settle down, when I earn a little more, when I finally have time. And every time I repeated those words, I was pushing important parts of my life into a future that never came. Let me spare you 40, 50 years with one simple truth. What you postpone today becomes regret tomorrow. You think you're just being responsible, but in reality, you're trading presents for promises. You're negotiating love with a calendar. You're betting that feelings will stay frozen while you chase obligations. They don't. That was the most expensive lesson of my life. You start by telling yourself it's only for a while, that the extra effort will be worth it, that a few more years of sacrifice will fix everything, and for a while it even seems to work. You work more, earn more, stay busier, and you promise you'll make it up later. Later with the people you love, later with yourself, later with the life you put on hold. But later never arrives the way you imagine. You achieve what you wanted, and in that same moment, a new goal appears, a new responsibility, a new excuse. The time you thought you were saving simply evaporates, and all that's left are accumulated absences. That's how it was for me. 30 years chasing stability, only to realize in the end that I had walked right past what truly mattered. It wasn't a single great tragedy that pulled me away from my own life. It was small choices, repeated day after day. And that's what makes it all so dangerous. Because while you believe you're moving forward, you're actually just moving farther away. I had a friend who used to say the exact same things I said. He worked nonstop, postponed vacations, always promising he'd slow down next year. He built a solid company, bought a beautiful house, gave his family comfort. He died at 62. At his funeral, his son said something to me that I've never forgotten. My father was a respected man, but I barely knew him. That stayed with me. And it wasn't just that. Years later, I lost someone in my own family. Someone I always said I'd visit more, call more, listen to more. I thought we had time. The news arrived on an ordinary morning, the kind that starts like any other. And suddenly, every postponed conversation became permanent. These losses don't arrive like an earthquake. They arrive as silence, as empty chairs, as dates that start to hurt. That's when you understand it wasn't the big mistakes that hurt the most, it was the presence you kept putting off. After that, I tried to change. I started saying no to things I used to accept out of obligation. I began visiting the people who were still around. I took trips I had always promised myself I would take. I asked forgiveness for old silences. I tried to recover conversations that were left unfinished. Some things I managed to fix. Others I didn't. There is a kind of lesson that only arrives when it's already too late. You learn the value of a hug after it becomes a memory. You feel the weight of a voice after it falls silent. You discover the meaning of presence when all that's left are photographs. I realized it wasn't money missing from my story. It was attention. It wasn't success I needed. It was real time. Time spent looking into someone's eyes. Time without a clock. Time without an agenda. And maybe this is the hardest part to accept. You can reorganize your life, but you can't recover the years you lived distracted. So let me ask you something, and I want you to answer in silence, honestly.
Who is the person you keep saying you'll reach out to, but never do?
What's the dream you pushed into a corner of your life because right now isn't the right time? If today were your 1965, the day one choice changes everything, what would you do differently? Because this is how it begins. Not with big dramatic decisions, but with small delays that seem harmless, with messages left for tomorrow, with visits that turn into someday, with feelings you think you can save for later. And while you wait for the perfect moment, life keeps moving. You don't notice it now. I didn't either. But one day you wake up and realize it wasn't time that slipped away. It was you who let it go. So do something simple. Today, not tomorrow, not when you finally have time. Call someone you've been putting off. Schedule that conversation you always push to later. Write to the person you miss, even if you don't know exactly what to say. Cancel one obligation that exists only out of habit. Use that time to be present. Look into their eyes. Listen without planning your next response. Sit in silence for a few minutes beside the people who matter. You don't need to change your entire life right now, but you do need to stop negotiating with it. Because every day you postpone what's essential, you teach your own heart that it can wait. And it can't. I am 105 years old. I'm still here, but part of me stayed at that bus stop back in 1965. If I could go back, I wouldn't ask for more money. I wouldn't ask for more success. I would ask for more presence, more courage to choose people over promises. You don't lose your life all at once. You lose it in small postponements. Don't wait until you reach my age to understand this. If this story touched you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Leave a comment telling me what you're going to do differently starting today, and subscribe. I still have a few truths to share, and not much time left to do it. The clock doesn't stop. What are you going to do with the time you still have?